beloveds. So welcome to Burn It Down with Kim Brown, the Tuesday edition. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze because we know, guess what? All of us got lots of lighters, lots of kindling to fuel our fury, and we know that the system that we are currently living under is not good for us. It is not good for our ancestors. It is not good for our descendants. So guess what? I think the responsibility lies upon us to burn this bitch to the fucking ground. Welcome everybody. Shout out to all of our people who are in here checking in with perfect attendance. We have our bruv Chuck Diesel's in the building. What's up, Valley Girls? What's up, Dave G? Who else we got up in here? We got everybody. Alicia, my niece is here. Who else we got up in here? I saw my bruv Kev Z 24/7. Esther is rocking with us. Hello, Esther. Of course, Vespa X. Hello, baby. Hello, baby. Y'all come on in here. Come on in. Get comfy. We got plenty of space. Afraid not. Dawn, my lovely. Thank you so much for being here today. Shout out to Radical Leftist Agenda. Radical Leftist Agenda left me a comment saying that they don't get to watch live anymore because their job prohibits the viewing of politically labeled speech, so to speak, at their job, but they do check in with us. So Radical Leftist Agenda has been rocking with us for a very, very long time. Come on in here. Who else we got up in here? 40J Blaze, come true. We got my sis, Franny France, birthday girl, Aquarius season, turn up. Come on, true. I love to see the fire emojis in the chat, and it makes me very, very happy. So yes, I'm so happy you guys are here with us today for this Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. As you see in the thumbnail, Biden is in the thumbnail, but really you could put every Democrat in that thumbnail because, as we have pointed out lots of times here on this program, Democrats and Republicans stand united. This is a bipartisan issue when it comes to funding the police. And Joe Biden, in typical Biden form, I suppose, I wouldn't necessarily call it a gaffe, but when he said that the police are not psychologists and he did say social workers. He said social workers, but then he tried to clean it up, social workers. He's right. So why aren't we funding psychologists and social workers instead of piggy ass cops? We're going to get into that discussion in just a little bit. We are also going to talk about how, in the midst of all of this calls for refunding the police, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan has declared going to refund the police, nigga, even though the police have not been defunded. They're going to refund the police. Somehow black women still remain very much unprotected out here. And black women are highly employed, black women out here doing our thing. I'm saying that to say, we pay a lot of fucking taxes. Black women by themselves. No disrespect to our bruvs and bruvs. Y'all are free to have this conversation amongst yourselves. If you want to invite me to the conversation, I'd like to come have it. And y'all know I highlight the mistreatment and the oppression that black men and other men of color endure. But today I got to talk about black women because there have been a number of high profile stories over the past, let's say, week or so that I'm like, wow, black women seem to be greatly impacted by police protocols and lack of, let me not even say lack of police training. No, this is how the fucking police are trained. They are trained to treat black and brown people like SHIT, okay? And they do an amazing job at that. But there's some stories that have been playing out nationally that have affected black women that I want us to sort of talk about, and how all these calls for refunding the police and we need to tough on crime, then how come black women are still out here unprotected? Riddle me that. Also coming up in the show, we're going to talk about, can y'all excuse me for a second? Because the computer's about to die. And I just realized that, and the plug's on the floor. And I'm trying to monkey my toes up so I can grab this here. Damn it, that's not even the right plug. Son of a bitch. Yeah, put the thing on today because I don't want the computer to die. That would be bad. That would be terrible if the computer died right here in front of me. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your patience. I just realized that the prompt came up on the laptop says low battery. I said, oh shit, that would be quite terrible if we got disconnected right now. So thank you all for your patience while I recompose myself. Anyway, back to the program. So a very interesting labor story that I wanted to make you guys aware of coming out of Wisconsin. Guys, check this out. So we've been talking about workers and the strengthening of unions and the efforts of places like Amazon workers and Starbucks workers trying to unionize, and other workers, John Deere, Nabisco, lots of other places have been striking, right? We've seen a lot of labor actions over this past year and a half. Well, I think the elites are trying to clap back. They said, we can't have the poors having all this power. So this interesting case out of Wisconsin, 7 hospital workers working for a hospital system named Theta Care out in Appleton. Do I have this right? We have any Wisconsinites in the chat? So these 7 hospital employees left to go accept a higher paying position at another hospital system. The original hospital filed an injunction to try to stop them from accepting the new job until the old hospital was able to refill their positions. And the people were like, bitch, we quit. What the fuck do you mean? Stick around until you hire somebody else. We quit, nigga. We gone. Friday, bitch, last day. Anyway, long story short, the hospital took this issue to court. And a judge ruled that those 7 employees had to stay at the job that they quit until the job that they quit could fill their positions. Now, I'm sorry. I thought this was America, people. I thought this was a free market economy. I thought that most of these states, and I am including Wisconsin in this, I thought these were at-will work states. Isn't that what at-will means? Isn't that every time that you start a new job in an at-will working state, don't your new employer take specific dedicated minutes to explain to you what the at-will work system is? Bitch, that is the opposite of at-will work. The elites is like, no. Slaves can't be making autonomous decisions. What the fuck? So we're going to get into that story in just a minute. But before we even get started, let me shout out. We got some new patrons. Let me pull these youngins up. And by the way, shout out to the people in the countries who are watching us around the world, whom what the fuck platform is this? Where do we? YouTube, yes. Whom YouTube actually decides to tell me is watching, because like I said, there's like 40% of our audience globally unaccounted for, and I don't understand it. But shout out to Jamaica, shout out to Mexico. What's up, UK? What's up, Canada? What's up, Philippines? We appreciate y'all checking in. And let me thank our new patrons, Vicente M. Thank you so much, Vicente, for signing up to become a patron. And Tina R. Thank you so much, Tina, for your brand new patronage and for becoming a new patron at patreon.com/BIDWKB. You get to come kick it with the Cool Kids on Friday for our Ask Me Anything. It is this Friday, right after the show. And may I add, Friday's show is going to be a great one. Shout out to Talisha Conklin. Shout out to Renee Johnson, because they tagged me on the story when it broke, last week and some change ago, about Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, who has been indicted on some charges. And shout out to Renee and Talisha for tagging me like, girl, did you see this? I said, yes, girl. I have absolutely seen that. And I have not really given it a lot of discussion. I think I talked about it on the Remix Morning Show with Black Power Media. But no, this needs discussion. Okay, like we got to talk about this shit. And Friday is going to be a great show. Journalists Lisa Snowden, Justine Barron, and advocate Kelly Davis, who is the wife of Keith Davis Jr. We have talked about the Keith Davis Jr. case numerous times here on Burn It Down with Kim Brown. In case you don't know, Keith Davis Jr. is about to be the most prosecuted man in American history, as State Attorney Marilyn Mosby, who is now herself facing charges, continues to bring charges that she is not able to substantiate nor able to convict Keith on. And she seems, and her office seem undeterred. Hey, 3rd trial, 4th trial, 5th trial, 6th trial. They just gonna keep trying this man, apparently. So Kelly has some very unique and I think extremely valuable perspective on the indictment of Marilyn Mosby. Please tune into that on Friday. That is going to be a splendiferous show. I'm very excited to have my sister on here with me. And then after that, we're going to do the AMA. So yes, for our patrons. So if you want to be a patron, you could very easily do so. Verily easily do so. Patreon.com/BIDWKB. Now, let's get on with this. Now, my children, y'all not my children. What should I call y'all? Nibbling siblings, Fire Fam? Let's just stick with Fire Fam. Let's keep it simple, Kim. All right. So I have been telling you guys I like to try to lead the show off with some good news, right? And I was able to find a piece of good news, a piece of news that brought a smile to my face when I saw it. Because you know what? I hate colonizers. I hate everything about colonizers. I hate. I think it's safe to say I hate colonizers. Not whites per se. Colonizers. Colonizers. There's a difference. Colonizers. And in Puerto Rico, what's up, Boricuas? PR turned up, showed up. But they did this shit real slick in PR. So, in case you guys do not know, that Puerto Rico, first of all, island unto itself with indigenous folks, the Taino folks, was chilling on Puerto Rico until some bitch ass nigga named Juan Ponce de Leon decided to sail his fucking dumbass ship up into San Juan Harbor, I imagine, right? It probably was not called San Juan Harbor. It's probably called something completely different. I know it was called something completely different. So anyway, San Juan, or rather Juan Ponce de Leon, is widely regarded as the European founder of Puerto Rico. Well, there was a surprise. A surprise was waiting in Viejo San Juan this week. Tunde, if we could please take a look at A1. Thank you, thank you. Boricuas? Oh, Oh, sorry. Can y'all not hear me? Are we back now? Yes. I just wanted to say that I appreciate this act of resistance from whomever decided to push down colonizer Juan Ponce de Leon. And let me say a real thing about Ponce de Leon. Now, when I was in elementary school, I recall these lessons all too well. Ponce de Leon was one of the many European colonizers, explorers, all the adventurous titles that they put on these monsters. And I hate that I know a lot of these Bamas. Remember, they had I never forget this. This was elementary school. They had the map of Europe, and you had to take the different color crayon. So let's say the blue crayon was Portugal, and then you had to draw from Portugal to all the places that Portugal colonized, and the same with Spain, and the same with England. And I think it's grotesque and horrific that school children are still being made to remember, and in a ways it's an honorific to know which colonizers took these European nations to which places. But good. Stomp that bitch to the fucking ground. Find another one of them them statues and stomp them out too. So in the spirit of the Colfax Four, which of course Stoner Lerner, Damien brought us that story of the people in Bristol bringing down the statue of slave trader Colfax. What was his name? Colfax? Colston. No, Colston. Yes, Colston. I'm here for this. And I think there needs to be more of this. And I think that even though these acts of resistance are largely symbolic in nature, I think they are very consequential. Because again, a lot of places these statues have stood and stood and stood and stood and stood, and people have tried by the so-called proper channels, petitions, trying to lobby their elected officials to get these things taken down. And the state continues to stand firmly on this shit by and large. They stand with the principles of the colonizers. They stand with all the tenets of white supremacy. That's why it's been difficult to get these things down taken by the so-called proper channels. So for people to take these acts of rebellion and civil disobedience to remove these things on their own or to outright destroy them on their own, more fire. More fire. Yes, a shout out PR, Puerto Rico, the Boricuas. They are with the shits, as they have always been with the shits, and we appreciate that. Hey, Courtney, baby, come through. I love to see Courtney in here. Schultz 100. Schultz, I was going back and it's okay, so I'm done that topic. Let me just put a pin in that. Schultz, I was going through the chat and I saw you leave me something a couple weeks ago about a young woman in Palestine you wanted me to check out, and her name was Jana Jihad. And I tried to look her up on Twitter and I couldn't tell if she had like a for real Twitter account. So if you have something direct for Jana Jihad, because I would love to talk to especially someone in Palestine about what's happening in Palestine, shoot us an email at the Gmail, Schultz. I'd appreciate that. Thank you and so much. Let's move along, you guys, to the next topic of the story, because I hope you guys were encouraged by that act of Puerto Rican defiance and rebellion to take down that damn statue. So that's a good way for us to begin our show here on today. That is the wrong doc. So there is that. By the way, if you haven't already, please follow us places around the internet. We are at BIDWKB, Instagram, Facebook, I'm trying to think of the Twitter at Burn It Down KB, at BIDWKB on Twitch. Hey, Twitchers, come on through. If you're watching us now on Twitch, please follow, please subscribe. I think we are, I don't fucking know, 20 or so followers, subscribers away from hitting some interesting benchmark over there on Twitch. So kindly help us do that. We appreciate it. So the next story I really wanted to get into has to do with workers' rights, guys. And we have talked a lot about workers. I'm assuming no one in this chat is of the 1%, because if we do have any 1%ers in this chat, we would appreciate if you ran us some big bucks, like the big bucks. If you 1%er, 2%er, 3%er. I mean, I think a 4-figure donation to the Burn It Down with Kim Brown platform would not be a bridge too far for you to travel. I just wanted to say that, but my assumption is we do not have any. I don't even think we got any top 10%ers in here. Guess what? That's cool, because guess what, baby? I'm the lower 99, without a doubt. Probably the lowest 59%, but that's neither here nor there. So we've been talking a lot about workers' rights, and during the pandemic, it's just really been exposed how basically capitalism and corporations find all of us to be quite disposable. Like, it's a plague. Make no worry about the plague. Just go ahead and send your kids to school in the plague. You be sure to show up to work in the plague. And even if you're sick, still show up to work in the plague, right? I mean, we have seen levels of ridiculosity here that I don't think any of us were prepared to see, even though I don't think any of us doubted that this level of callousness and disconnection came from capitalism and the corporate interests, etc. But when you see it in person, you're like, Jesus, really? Yeah. So there's been lots of strikes. There's been lots of labor actions. There's been lots of threatened strikes here in the U.S. Actually, Northern Witch knows this. I told her. But next Tuesday, guys, we're going to be joined with labor reporter Kim Kelly. I'm so excited about that. Yes, Kim Kelly's going to join us, and we're going to be talking about the Amazon workers in Bessemer, Alabama, who are having yet a second election to unionize that facility in Alabama, the Amazon warehouse facility there, and the challenges and that the workers have faced and the dirty tricks that the company has enacted, right? And by the way, the reason there's even a second election being held is because the National Labor Relations Board said, hey, Amazon was out here fucking cheating. They were doing big, humongous cheating out here. The workers get another vote. So, in that vein, though, of Amazon cheating, of Starbucks working overtime to union bust, this story coming out of Wisconsin is pretty fucked up. And I think if you are a worker, you really need to pay extremely close attention to this. So, Tunde, if you could please pop up B1 for me, please. So this article is, hold on, let me pull, I have it on my phone because I have excerpts of this that I would really, really like to read to you guys. So the long and the short of it is this. A group of 7 technological radiologists, because apparently there's nuance. There's like rad tech does not mean the same thing nor the same position, but a radiologist. Am I saying that right? Hold on, because I have the guy. Because we're actually going to hear from one of these people, not one of the people that is impacted by this employee action, but we're going to hear from a radiologic technologist after the 10th time. Yes, that's who we're going to hear from in just a moment. But let me set this up for you, what's happening, okay? So, Theta Care, Appleton, Wisconsin. 7 employees working for Theta Care Hospital decided that they were going to leave Theta Care and go down the street to Ascension Hospital. Let me shout out to Max Alvarez, by the way, who tweeted this, and I saw Max's outrage at this. Maximilian Alvarez, host of the Working People podcast. Shout out to the Working People podcast. Max is really pissed off about this, and I saw it. I said, ooh. I said, Max is probably going to get deeper into this, but I got to at least tell you about this shit. So anyway, 7 employees who work in the radiology department. Let's just keep it simple there. So they left Theta Care, were slated to start at Ascension. Theta Care said, hold up. We have not filled these 7 empty positions in the radiology department, and our inability to fill these positions in the amount of time allotted for the employees to go, do their 2 weeks notice and go on to their next job. That's not enough time. We can't hire employees that way. So Theta Care decided to sue Ascension, right? To stop them from being able to hire and or begin employment for these 7 employees that left, right? And this lawsuit has been playing out really in quick time over the past few days. But anyway, the movement on this has to do with the fact that Judge McGinnis of the Outagamie County Circuit Court, Judge Mark McGinnis, dismissed the temporary restraining order, right? And in fact, issued an injunction that has forced these 7 employees to return to work back in Theta Care. Mind you, they fucking quit Theta Care. They quit their job. And the judge said, I agree with the hospital. You guys have to stay until Theta Care can hire some folks. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Wisconsin is an at-will work state, at-will employee, at-will work, right? I used to work in Virginia for a stretch. Virginia is an at-will work state. I don't think Maryland is. Maryland might be. Anyway, that at-will work shit, that shit always worked for me because I've already informed y'all, I will quit a fucking job in a heartbeat, nigga. Okay, you want to explain the at-will work shit to me, bitch? Explain it to yourself. just be sure that you understand how this at-will work shit works, because I will fucking quit on you. Make no mistake about it. And despite all of this country's worship of capitalism, of the free market, of, this is not socialism, this isn't communism, people can leave jobs and work away from jobs anytime they feel like it. Well, apparently not. Apparently not. And you guys need to understand that I think that this is another shot, but the latest shot from the elites, right? Like a judge is an elite person in society. I'm sure he has a lot of connections. He probably plays golf with the head administrator at Theta Care, right? So of course the elites are gonna squad up class solidarity and shit with each other against us. And this is bad. This is bad. Can you imagine a judge ordering you back to a job that you fucking quit with a straight face? What a straight face. I wanted to take a look, guys, because I wanted some more explanation about this story because I find it really interesting, even though some elements about it are pretty mundane. Like, I mean, we may have some rad techs in here. I don't know what the fuck radiologist or a radiologist this nigga do. I don't know what the fuck them niggas do. So, YouTube directed me to a radiologist. I'm gonna say it right probably when I'm probably done saying the story. YouTube directed me to person with that job titles page. Okay, this guy. Now again, aside from being a random on YouTube, he has his credentials listed in his bio. So I'm gonna accept this at his face for the simple fact that this person absolutely drones on like a doctor. I was like, yep, this person absolutely probably does have some medical training. He looks very much like the part. So if there's any chance that anyone finds out that the radiologic technologist is a farce or a fraud, make me aware and I will issue a mea culpa to tweet. But I want us to take a look again. This is what three is this? How long is this tune? Is this like 3.5 minutes long or is it like 4 minutes long? But the person, the guy, the doctor, is going to explain some of the conditions that they believe that the the radiological team at Theta Care in Appleton, Wisconsin was experiencing. And by the way, I want you guys to listen to this through the lens of knowing that 1 in 5 healthcare workers have left the field, have left the profession since the pandemic. Like, we're talking almost 500,000 healthcare workers has said, fuck this shit, because we are being neglected and treated horribly during this pandemic and not paid appropriately. So if people are able to find a better paying positions, how dare the courts step in and to prevent people from doing that in a so-called free market economy. But I want you guys to hear it directly from the professionals. So this YouTube channel is the Radiologic Technologists. And here's what they have to say about the reasons they believe why the Theta Care workers wanted to leave Theta Care in the first place.
So here's the 4 things that I call out right from the get-go. One, the letter that you're seeing on the YouTube video calls them technicians. Now, these are not technicians, these are technologists. And to those in the know, there's a big difference. To those who don't know what radiologic technologists do, they might not know the difference. But what this tells me is that the HR representative or CEO or whoever it is at Theta Care who drafted this letter calling them radiologic technicians doesn't even know what to call their own employees. I guarantee it doesn't say technician on their job description. I guarantee it doesn't say technician on their ID badges. This person just clearly doesn't understand the title and the job duties of a radiologic technologist. Now, you don't see them calling the nurses doctor helper people. They're calling them appropriately nurses because they know what the nurses do. And they're clear in their minds about that, but they don't know what the radiologic technologists do, and ergo aren't even calling them the proper name. Second, if the hospital administrators would have offered a decent wage based on current market conditions, the staff wouldn't have been leaving. Clearly, Theta Care is underpaying if the hospital Ascension is offering enough to make them want to leave. Third, whenever work-life balance is brought up, it's a sure sign that the staff is being overworked, most likely through excessive on-call hours due to understaffing. So the only reason that these employees who are trying to leave Theta Care would have brought up work-life balance is if something's off and they're spending too much time at work and not enough time enjoying their life. And the most common thing that happens in the world of radiology is administration, who's always trying to run a thin margin and trying to save as much money as possible, they will understaff the department and put technologists on call so that You start out minimally with the least amount of staff, and as business picks up, as volume picks up, you call in more employees to help out. That's how they keep from overstaffing a department. And there's a fine balance there. And that's the job of the radiology director to know what your volume numbers are, how many staff you should have in line, and how many you should have there every day on a regular basis. But I guarantee you that there was an issue there. If they brought up work-life balance, then there was an imbalance in the amount of hours they were working and the amount of call they were probably taking, which for those that don't know, being on call in the world of healthcare means you work your regular job. And then after you get off work and you punch out or you clock out, you can get called back in to work again. And so what happens in the world of radiology is you may work your 8 to 5 or your 2 to 10, whatever your shift is, and then you take call overnight and come back in the next day to resume your regular shift. Well, if you get called in the night, you can get called in for 2 hours. You can get called in for the entire night, and you're expected. You cannot call off the next day and say, well, I got called in all night, so I'm not going to work today. No, you have to work your shift.
The radiologic technologist. Go check out his YouTube channel. I'm unable to pronounce certain words. Dave G in the chat says that Dave read that the judge's injunction got lifted, so these workers are not going to be able to adhere to this. And Dave, I have to find that myself. I did not see that the latest, if that is indeed the most recent update. But the fact still remains that a sitting circuit court judge sat on the bench and made this ruling in favor of an employer over employees in an at-will employment state, right? In a so-called free market economy. And I don't think that this is going to be the last time that we see such things. And I am especially concerned with our healthcare workers because of the essentialness of their positions, right? And we're seeing the strain on hospitals. Obviously, the pandemic is not over. The pandemic is still very much pandemicking. And is it going to be a case where if you live in a particularly conservative state, and I wouldn't even say Wisconsin is overwhelmingly conservative, but I guess, an argument could be made either way, in either direction about that. But if that's coming out of Wisconsin, oh my gosh, you niggas in Kentucky ain't got no chance. You niggas in Georgia ain't got no chance. If boss wants your ass to work and you say, no, boss, I ain't coming to work, and boss say, cool. The judge that I go play golf with at the country club, I'm about to go file a petition, file a motion in their courtroom, and then what you gonna do, Docky? Your ass is going to work. And again, these are professional trained folks, right? The radiologic technician, highly trained. So I want us to stick a pin in that, and just we have to keep an eye on what the elites are doing, because they make moves in broad daylight. They may not broadcast like, hey, the significance of this is this, but they'll just do it. It'll happen. We choose to pay attention to it, or we choose not to pay attention to it. And they like, oh, this didn't make that huge a stink. Let's try this again. Let's go 2 and 3 and 4 steps further the next time. So keep that in mind, especially if you working people out here, which I imagine you are working people out here. So that is a very important story. I wanted to bring that to you guys. Real quick, shout out to Afra. Afra's in the building. Chuck Diesel. I was able to catch a sneak peek at the chat. Shout out, what's up, Nandi, aka Obi. I saw in the chat, Chuck Diesel, somebody was in here saying, let's go Brandon. I don't have a problem with that. That's the crackers' way of saying fuck you, Biden. Hey, them niggas want to come in here and say fuck you, Biden. Let them. Now the minute they start talking about monkeys and shit, yeah, bounce their ass the fuck up out of here. But shit talkers of Joe Biden, come on in. This is a safe space here. We don't fuck with Biden around here. Now I know y'all crackers, and when I say crackers, I mean racist whites, and I know y'all gonna go tell YouTube I'm over here making hate speech. Fuck you. Anyway, racist whites, you know who you are in here eyeballing this program for reasons I don't understand, but okay. Let me explain something to you. You see me, black as shit. We don't fuck with Joe Biden. We don't fuck with the Democrats. We will never fuck with Republicans, and we will never fuck with Trump, which is, I know, the whole reason y'all come over here to observe us, because you are befuddled by us, because you think that black equals Democrat. And bitch, let me assure you, it does not fucking mean that shit at all. At all. Black people are fed up with Democrats, and there is no space, no wanted viable space for us with the GOP. So that's not an option either. So I don't even know what the fuck you doing over here, bro. But if you just over here to say fuck Joe Biden, well, come on in. I don't care. I do not care. Fuck Joe Biden. I'm with that shit. Send me a Let's Go Brandon t-shirt. Because if that's what Let's Go Brandon means, yes. Fuck Let's Go Brandon then. Shit, I don't give a fuck. Next story, guys. Speaking of Let's Go Brandon, with this bitch ass nigga Joe Biden. Is that the my next block? So I'm trying to buy better makeup. I know this is random as shit. I'm trying to buy better makeup because when I don't wear good makeup, it makes my eyes water. So, and that makes it hard for me to read sometimes on a live program. So there is that. So, all right. So let's start there. Thank you so much for that, Tunde. So the next block, I'm going to say Biden for last. Because he deserves, I need to stretch. I need to get warmed up so I can get loose on Joe Biden. You know I love beating shit out of 80-year-old white men. Love stomping their ass out figuratively on the internet, so I need to get loose for that. But let me start off with here, guys. Black women remain unprotected, and from time to time I will bring you stories about black women, because it's hard out here for black women. Let me just say that. And the ways that we remain unprotected, okay? And especially unprotected by law enforcement, which is not interested in protecting us. And in fact, some would argue law enforcement is probably among our top abusers, right? Depending on the perspective and what you're checking out. But this first story I wanted to bring you, I believe it came out of New England, and I'm really sorry that I did not properly figure out where the story was, but I will do that while the video plays. So how about that? So this happened this week, and it happened in a food facility where there were some teenage girls working behind the counter, you know, at a beverage spot. I'm not sure if this is Starbucks or what. Let me look this up to be clear. I don't know what I was doing today. I smoked too many J's. This story has these two teenage girls waiting on a white male customer. And where the video picks up, you see the customer very, very quickly getting irate with these young girls behind the smoothie that they served him. I'm not exactly clear on what the problem was. But the language and the fury and the slurs and the attempted attack that came after that is very much part and parcel to what women broadly experience, but black and brown women experience at a level I think that is usually reserved for black and brown women. So I want you guys to check out this TikTok video. This came from TikTok user CJJ Breezy. I don't think this is CJJ Breezy's original video, but this is the video that has been widely circulated, so that's why I'm crediting this TikTok user. So Tunde, if we could please take a look at C1. Trigger warning. Trigger warning. This is gendered, verbal abuse, racial slurs, worker abuse. Let's take a look at that, please.
I have no room to yell at them.
I want to speak to the fucking person who made this drink. Is that you?
No, it wasn't
We don't know
me.
who made it,
You
so
don't know who made it?
there's 4 of us here, so we honestly don't know.
Fucking stupid, fucking ignorant high school kids.
Okay,
I
bye.
want to speak to the fucking
Bye. Okay, you can
Yeah,
call
stop,
corporate whenever you want. Goodbye.
John, stop. You're on camera.
Fuck
You're on
out of
camera.
here,
You're on
you
camera.
fucking bitch.
No, I don't care.
Give it to me right now.
What? Oh, you're fine.
I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police.
Fuck you. I want the fucking telephone number right now.
Gianna,
I want
stop.
the telephone number. Shut the fuck
You
up.
shut up. Get out. You can call corporate whenever you want. Bye.
You're a fucking idiot.
Okay, good for you. Bye.
I want the
Bye. Bye.
Shut up.
You shut up. You're not gonna tell me to shut up. The fuck? Who are you? Who are you?
Fucking immigrant loser.
What? Fuck you. Get the fuck
piece of shit.
I want a fucking telephone.
Bro, call the police now.
Woo, that was a lot, right? I'm glad I gave you guys a trigger warning. So this happened in Connecticut, and the man caught on film there, abusing these young women. First of all, this happened in Fairfield, Connecticut over the weekend, and the name, and if you could pop up, I think it's the tweet today. This person has been identified as someone who works as a financial advisor for Merrill Lynch. Shout out to heavy.com. They did an extensive breakdown on this person, and his name is James Iannazzo. And swiftly, can I say, generally fuck financial institutions, et cetera, and whether or not these people were doing this for optics or whatever the reason, thankfully they did the right thing here. So Merrill Lynch says in a statement about James Iannazzo, quote, "Our company does not tolerate behavior of this kind. We immediately investigated and have taken action. This individual is no longer employed with our firm." Also, Fairfield, Connecticut police say that James Iannazzo has been charged with a couple of crimes, including intimidation along racial bias, right? And I am glad that this person has faced pretty much immediate consequences. And again, I don't really know what that looks like come on, James works for Merrill Lynch. James lives in Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm sure James makes a very nice living, right? I'm glad that Merrill Lynch fired him. I'm glad the police have charged him with something. But I think very much in the same way as like the January 6 people, so to speak, the charges are probably going to get pled down quite a bit. He's probably going to end up paying a fine. No other real consequence will be borne on to him. And the white power structure will look out for him. He's got a homeboy that works at a different firm that is probably going to be very willing to rehire James in about 18 months after all this court shit is behind him, and James is going to go on about his merry fucking life, just calling people immigrant losers on the inside. He's just going to keep that shit to himself, which he should have did in the first fucking place, and James wouldn't have had no goddamn problems, nigga. Can I get the number to corporate? Cool, deuces. And he could have walked out the door. Instead, he wanted to stand there and call those young girls, high school age girls, mind you, all kinds of bitches. Did you hear how many times he called them bitches? Do you know how many times he called them bitches? And again, that is a male across the racial spectrum thing. Ladies, ask yourself, over the course of your life, how many different races of men have called you a bitch? Now, I think it probably all depends on where you grew up and perhaps the level of diversity of where you grew up. I think I've been called a bitch by at least 3 or 4 different races of men, at least. Anyway, so I'm glad the police have interceded on this, but let me also say, if those young women did not have video, if they did not have evidence of all of the deplorable behavior that James Iannazzo displayed at their workplace, can't say anything would have happened to him, right? Let's say there was no video. Let's say those girls took his name or somehow found out who he was, if on his credit card or whatever. If they did their searches and discovered where his place of employment was. Imagine they called up Merrill Lynch and just said, "Hey, one of your financial advisors was extremely rude to the wait staff at the local Orange Julius." Merrill Lynch would have been like, "What?" Bah! Merrill Lynch would have hung up. Fairfield police probably would have hung up. And it was the video. It was the video. The video in the 21st century is always going to be our saving grace. Not even so much our saving grace. Perhaps that is the wrong turn of phrase. It's always going to be our evidence. Now, whether or not it's accepted and accepted as valid and as strong and as credible, I mean, I guess that is a case-by-case situation. But Lord, anytime. Let me explain something, y'all. Anytime the racist whites get out of pocket, turn on that phone, baby. Turn on that motherfucking phone. You better turn on that phone, because that's the only way to shame them. They don't feel shame. They have no problem acting like Karens and Kevins out here. They will go in until they get tired, I guess. And what if they never get tired? They won't ever stop. But yeah, that's why you got to keep the phone on their ass, because the phone act like some kryptonite. They know what time it is. They know what it's like when the races go viral. It may not have forever lasting consequences, but they know at least those immediate consequences are going to be swift and they're going to be felt. So yes, turn on that fucking camera if the racist whites start acting out. If they start acting out. Okay, the next story I wanted to move on to, guys, takes us back to a couple of years ago, 2019, I believe this incident happened. So let me reset you here. So in Chicago, a black woman in her apartment, home alone, changing clothes, has her door kicked in by Chicago police, and they held her there naked for nearly an hour, wouldn't let her put on clothes, and it turns out they were in the wrong fucking apartment. Well, she sued the city, and there was a number of investigations that happened into this incident. Her name was Anjanette Young. And she was recently awarded a $2.9 million settlement from the city of Chicago. And, you know, to Anjanette's credit, she appeared on CBS this morning and did an interview with Gayle King, of which I'm going to show you guys an excerpt. And I have to say, you know, I don't watch CBS Good Morning or none of that shit, not really. But this was actually a really good interview with Gayle King. And it's about 9 minutes long. I'm not going to show you the entire 9-minute interview, but I do recommend that you actually go watch it. Go back and watch it, not right now, but a little later. Go back and watch it later. But the clips that I want to show you from the Gayle King interview are consequential, but they take you back. So we're going to see the body cam footage from the Chicago police. Again, trigger warning, police violence, pigs being pigs, black woman traumatized. Anjanette is very fortunate that she escaped this incident with her life, and I'm going to talk about that after we watch this interview and a summation of the incidents that happened to Anjanette Young when Chicago police broke down her door. Turns out they weren't looking for her, but they sure as hell scared the hell out of her. Let's take a look at that, Tunde.
This body cam footage from February 2019 shows a dozen male Chicago police officers storming into Anjanette Young's home on a Thursday night.
You got the wrong house. I live alone.
She was in the middle of changing her clothes after returning from a work event. Young says the officers left her naked and handcuffed for 40 minutes. They later learned that a police informant gave them a bad tip.
What are you looking for?
The person they were actually looking for lived next door and was wearing an electronic monitoring bracelet.
Yeah, man, relax. You telling me to relax and y'all don't come in my house like this?
City officials went to court to try to block this video from airing after Young and her attorney shared it with our Chicago station, WBBM.
Watching that video is always hard because it just takes me back to that moment. And one thing that stands out the most to me as I think about this and live through this over the years is how vulnerable I was in that moment.
What were you doing at the time when the police officers broke through the door? What were you doing?
I was getting undressed, in the fact that I continued to ask if I could get dressed. I continued to ask them if I could call someone. What stands out to me most is that I was invisible to them. Because no one even responded to me saying, yes, you can get dressed later or let us finish this. Like, they just totally ignored me.
While you're standing there nude.
While I'm standing there nude.
And pleading.
Yes.
How has this experience affected you now?
So I tell people that I didn't lose my life that night, but I lost a lot of my life that night.
At some point, did you think you could lose your life?
I actually thought that if I had done anything different than what I was doing, I would have died that night.
Do you understand how real of a statement that she just said? And she said it very calm, and she said it very composed, as Black women are often forced to do, because if we say things emotionally, we are unheard. Proof positive by the body cam video that we just saw, this woman was screaming and sobbing and went fully ignored by the police. You know why? Because black people and bitches be lying. You can't trust them. She's not wrong. She could have lost her life right there. And I've shared with you all the experience I've had. Prince George's County came to my house and pointed guns at me after I mistakenly thought someone was trying to break into my home. And they pointed guns at Breezy, and I was standing behind Breezy, and I understand very clearly. Like it became crystal clear to me that night, in that moment, that if I was not able to perfectly articulate myself, who I am, my relation to this property, that I am of sound mind, that I am not armed, they would have thought twice about killing me, harming me, arresting me, anything like that, right? So she is 100% right, even in her own home. Law-abiding citizen. She was not safe from the police. She was not safe from the police. And again, I encourage you all to please go and look at that interview with Gail Kane, because Anjanette goes in. She's a social worker in Chicago, right? So, of course, Gail King asked her the standard, what are you going to do with the money, et cetera? And Anjanette said, first of all, I'm a social worker, so I'm probably going to use this money to help out people, to help out my clients, et cetera. But she had a lot to say about Chicago police protocols and the way that they operate, and specifically about Lori Lightfoot and the way that Lori Lightfoot very clearly lied about not knowing about this incident, and the way that the outside firm that the Lightfoot administration hired to conduct an investigation about this incident also somehow absolved Lori Lightfoot and city officials from saying that they intentionally tried to bury this video, which they absolutely did. They did. The city of Chicago tried extremely hard to make sure that this video did not come out. And the woman, Anjanette Young, by the way, again, I can't overstate that this is actually a pretty good interview. She says at the end of the interview that, you know what, she would have given all the money back if those officers had been fired. Think about that. I want you guys to think about that. I'm assuming Anjanette is not well off prior to the settlement, right? So a very middle-class black woman said that she would give back $3 million if those 8 police officers would have lost their jobs, if they would have been fired. Bitch, that is how bad we want fucking justice. You know what I mean? Trust me, every single family of a black person or indigenous person or a Latino person murdered by the police who has received a big settlement, I assure you George Floyd's family want George Floyd back. Take this fucking however many millions the city of Minneapolis awarded them. Take all that shit back. George Floyd's kids want their father back. So that's how badly the black people, I mean, shit, as poor as we are, like, really, if the white supremacist system could be held to account every now and again, you know, maybe if we had to exchange money for that, for white supremacy accountability, hey, that'd be money well spent. That'd be money well spent. So you see how the Chicago police terrorized Anjanette Young, and then the black political power structure tried to cover for the police and make sure that the police were protected, and, you know, drag this woman's story out, and her trauma out and out and out. But the trauma can sometimes get worse for black families. I'm sure you guys have heard by now the story coming out of Bridgeport, Connecticut, about Lauren Smithfield, the 23-year-old black woman who was allegedly on a Bumble date with a white guy, and Lauren ended up dead, and the police didn't seem to think that it was a big deal or a need to collect evidence or a need to question the white man who was last seen with her before she died. I want you guys to take a look at this package. This is going to be from CBS New York. Now, this week, yesterday, would have been Lauren Smithfield's birthday, and her family held a rally in Bridgeport. But the family says that the police have been beyond giving them the runaround, and that's why they have indeed hired their own investigator. They're having their own autopsy done on Lauren's body. And now they have decided to file suit against Bridgeport, Connecticut police. So if we could take a look at this package from CBS New York, I believe this was from yesterday, Monday.
Family photos and memories are what Lauren Smithfield's family is holding on to as they wrestle with her unexpected death.
The pain is so unbearable.
Chantel Field says she drove to her daughter's apartment last month after not hearing from her.
When I got there was a note on the door saying, if you're looking for Lauren, call this number.
The family says a detective told them Smithfields had been declared dead about a day and a half earlier, and no one reached out to tell them.
He said that she met some guy on Bumble that night. And I'm like, who's this guy? What's going on? He's like, oh, he sounds like a nice guy. Don't worry about it.
According to an incident report, the date told police the two allegedly spent the night drinking, eating, and watching a movie. At one point, he said Smithfields went outside to meet someone. Later, she fell ill, but the two continued drinking. Smithfields fell asleep, and the date carried her to bed, where he went to sleep next to her. Hours later, around 6:30 in the morning, he says he woke up to Smithfields not breathing, her nose bleeding. He called 911. The family says a detective also told them to stop calling him for information. They were told he has since been removed from the case.
Where all do you think the police department misstepped in handling Lauren's death?
When you find a young lady dead and there's a male involved, is immediately a person of interest, and they should immediately collect that person's DNA.
The incident report shows police collected money in Smithfields' passport, credit card, and phone, but the family's attorney, Darnell Crossland, stresses possible key evidence like bloodied sheets and drinks was not processed at the scene until 2.5 weeks later.
At the scene, we find a pill, we find a condom with semen in it.
In a statement to CBS News, Bridgeport Police Acting Chief Rebecca Garcia says there are elements of misinformation being reposted, adding they will release a final comprehensive report at the end of their investigation.
People know that black women, black girls have been going missing and haven't gotten any attention, and I think is at a boiling point. We're just asking for process. That's it. Treat these cases like you would treat any others.
To lose Lauren in this way, how does that make you feel?
A part of my soul died. I would never be the same again. I don't even know how to even move from the next day to the next minute. I'm literally dead inside.
The medical examiner's office tells CBS News an autopsy report should be complete in about a week. The family has paid out of pocket for an independent autopsy as well.
One thing the attorney said there that I disagree with, he obviously is 100% on target when he talks about missing black women, missing and murdered black women. This extends to indigenous women. This extends to brown women everywhere, right? Like, yes, that is a huge issue in our country. Not only the fact that women, black women and women of color oftentimes go missing with no attention, but that the police, treat these cases differently. And the attorney said, we just want Lauren's case to be treated like everybody else. That's wrong. No, treat Lauren's case as you would as if it was a fucking white girl that got murdered by a black man. Okay? Treat it like that. Police, treat it with the same zeal you would treat if a white woman had been in a sexual relationship with the black man, and the black man was the last man to see her, and she popped up dead. Treat it like that. You know how, and y'all know what I'm talking about. You guys know exactly how that will be treated, right? And the racial dynamics here really can't be ignored, right? Lauren being a beautiful, oh my God, she's gorgeous. Like, Lauren being a beautiful black woman, notwithstanding the fact that the last person seen with her the night that she died is a white man. I don't know his position in life. I don't know his station, but I imagine if he's in Connecticut, he might be doing okay. He might be doing okay. And I can't help but to compare this to the case of Gabby Petito, the young woman who went missing last summer. It was breaking fucking news on every news station, major news cable network, and local TV stations. They were covering Gabby Petito so strong in DC. I'm like, is she from here? Like, make it make sense. Cover it like that. Cover it like that, right? And the only reason it was covered like that, and the only reason, again, Gabby Petito's murderer, her boyfriend, was able to get away and able to get all the way home, say goodbye to his parents, and then go off in the woods and kill himself is because he was white, right? And the white men's get a lot of latitude apparently in these domestic violence, these interpersonal violent situations, right? They let the white men's get plenty of time to get their shit together. You get to go home, you get to see your parents, you get to formulate a plan, you get to scrub your social media, you get to get your shit together before the charade, I suppose, of the criminal justice system comes looking for you. Make it make sense. How the fuck did the family walk in and find condoms with semen in it, drinks and shit, and the police let that shit there for 2 fucking weeks? I would imagine in the city of Bridgeport, Connecticut, that the police probably get an outsized share of the budget. And for Black residents and Latino residents and non-white residents of Bridgeport, you get to pay for a police department that if one of your daughters goes missing, shit, they might look for her, they might not. If one of your daughters gets murdered, hey, well, what do you want us to do? She was hanging out with a nice guy. You want us to actually investigate and spend resources into this? What do you think? We are the most funded public safety outfit in the city? Don't be ridiculous. What the fuck do we spend all these billions of dollars on police for if they're not even out here to help Black women? Not even really trying to investigate Black women's murders, will run up in the wrong Black woman's house and terrorize them and traumatize them, and will probably only go after a privileged white man who abuses young Black girls and young girls of color in public because there was video evidence, right? Which brings me to my final my final chapter of today's show. Y'all's boy. That's y'all's boy, Joseph Robinette Biden. Let's go, Brandon. Chuck Diesel, I wish you would have let that nigga fly. As the nigga showed back up here and talk about let's go, Brandon, that shit made me laugh when I seen it. That shit made me laugh when I seen it because he really thought he was hurting somebody's feelings. Bitch, please. Fuck, we care about Joe Biden over here. Yes, nigga, let's go, Brandon. All that shit. Let's go. Anyway, Joe Biden is reading from the script of defeat at this point, you guys. Democrats back the police, and consequently, we don't back the Democrats. And I think this is going to be telling the tale for the 2022 midterms, along with the 2024 presidential election, guys. The Democrats are determined to be on the wrong side of a whole bunch of issues that their base really cares about, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Are we? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Tunde. Before we get into Joe Biden, really quick, I did miss a video. I want you guys to hear directly from Lauren Smithfield's mother. This was at a rally in Bridgeport. I apologize for, I got a little ahead of myself. My bad. Before we move off of this story about how Black women are unprotected by the police, I want us to hear directly from Lauren Smithfield's mom, because in that package where she talked to CBS New York, she was very emotional, as in, obviously grieving and heartbroken, as you can imagine. But in this clip that was shot by Lauren Linder of WTNH TV, you can hear her very defiant. I hate that word. She's not defiant. She's pissed that the police are blowing her the fuck off and are refusing outright to investigate her daughter's murder. She's not defiant. She's furious. She's furious, and she has every right to be. And I think that her fury more accurately comes across better in this clip by reporter Lauren Linder. Let's take a look at that, Tunde. Thank you.
No one is going to discard my daughter like she's rubbish. That's right. She's not rubbish. She had a life. She had a business. She was in college.
Talk about it.
Family and friends that love her.
Amen.
No one is going to discard Lauren Smithfield's my daughter as she's rubbish. They're going to answer everything, or people are going to lose their jobs. I want that bastard on his badge. I want his badge.
Can you imagine being the family of a murder victim and you call to get an update about the status of your loved one's murder investigation and the motherfucking pig tell you to stop calling them for updates? Have you guys seen 3 billboards outside of Ebbings, Missouri? Was that the title of the movie? And when the mother she threw the Molotov cocktail and burned down the goddamn police station. I can feel that sentiment coming from Lauren Smithfield's mother. And if that's something that she elected to do, we would send her bail money first and foremostly. And that is a sentiment that I would absolutely get behind. Fuck those fucking police. Bridgeport police, fuck you. You lazy pieces of shit. You ain't got shit else better to do than to not investigate murders. So guess what, y'all? White men get away with murder in Bridgeport. Tell a friend. News at 11. I laugh, but it's definitely not funny. There's that. Yeah, that was important to see. Thank you, Tunde, for reminding me. And again, Joe Biden wants to give the police more money to not investigate the murders of Black women. And Joe Biden, in a speech to the National Council of Mayors. Oh, Lord. National Council of Mayors. Biden is, in my opinion, like I said before, he is reciting from the script of defeat. Because this is how losers talk, dog. This is how niggas talk who want to lose elections. This is how niggas talk who want to lose the black vote. This is how niggas talk who want to lose the brown vote. This is how niggas talk who want to lose the Gen Z, the millennial, and the Gen X vote, right? Or at least the portion of those votes that could potentially vote for a Democrat presidential, person, or Democrats generally on the ticket at the local level and state level, etc. So the Democrats are determined to turn off as many people as possible. But it makes sense when you consider that their goal is, and always has been, to try to reclaim the middle, to try to reclaim so-called centrists. And in my opinion, really, I don't think there are centrists in this country. I think there's conservatives. I don't even know what a moderate is. What does a moderate subscribe to? A moderate is what? For abortion and for gun control? Like, I don't even know what are the political metrics that make one a moderate in the 21st century? Because to me, it's like, bitch, you far right or you far left. All this middle shit, that's just got to go, because the middle is being eaten up because you have people that are in these camps. Either you are with funding the police or you are not against, or you are against funding the police. And this is a short clip. This was snipped by Mediaite, and we can listen to Joey Robinette stumble and bumble his way through this bullshit, and there's that. So yes, Tunde, let's take a look at President Joe Biden speaking at the National Conference of Mayors, determined to make sure that police have all the resources that they need.
Funding proven programs to help fight violent crime. We shouldn't be cutting funding for police departments. I propose increasing funding. Look, we ask cops to do everything, including be psychologists and social workers. Guess what? They need psychologists and social workers.
Who needs psychologists and social workers? The police or the community? I don't know what specifically Joe Biden was referring to right there. And perhaps Joe Biden also does not know what he was specifically referring to right there. But at the end of the day, The Democrats continue to double and triple and quadruple down on this widely debunked mythology that increasing funding for police somehow decreases violent crime. And that has actually been found to be the opposite. When money for social programs and food programs and money to assist people to stay housed and fund money for education, when all those things go up, crime goes down. And when those things get cut, crime goes up, particularly youth crime. And I guess Biden and the Democrats, they just don't want to win, and that's okay. That is okay. And in a way, but see, at the same time, it's not okay because I don't have faith in the Democrats at all to govern us forward. They're not here to move the ball down the field. They are here to stay at the line of scrimmage, right? Democrats not interested in scoring. They don't want to get into the fucking red zone and eventually score. No, let's just stay at the line of scrimmage and keep throwing these little who used to throw them bullshit ass passes? Kirk Cousin, punk ass, when he's playing for the football team, them little 5 and 6 yard joints. Nigga, that's all the Democrats want to do. They just want to keep the ball. They just want to maintain possession of the ball. They're not actually interested in scoring. Y'all love my football analogies. Y'all can admit it. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough. That's not enough for me to vote for Joe Biden. If you think I'm ever going to cast a vote for Joe Biden talking about we need to increase funding for the police, bitch, you barking up that wrong tree. And truly, singularly on that issue is reason enough to vote for Joe Biden, particularly when you weigh it against all the shit that Joe Biden is not doing, that he could be doing, shit that he could be spending money on, as opposed to trying to hurry up a $200 million funding bill, defense funding bill for Ukraine. Where is my $600 motherfucking dollars, Joe Biden? Where's my $600 for my stimulus? Where's my student debt cancellation? Where's the assistance on health care? Where are my N95 masks that I gotta go on a website and order when, bitch, you could just send them to me? Every single piece of junk mail, shout out to Jackie Lukman, I saw Jackie tweet this. Every single piece of junk mail finds its way to my house through the United States Postal Service. But somehow, the masks and the tests to help me make better decisions throughout the pandemic and take better, health precautions for myself during the pandemic. Oh, I gotta order them shits. Y'all don't seem to know where I live when it comes to sending me some shit that I could actually use. I mean, the audacity. And this is part and parcel of what Democrats do when they govern, right? They try to go out of their way to show that they are as tough as Republicans, right? Oh, no, we're tough on crime. We're law and order. We send niggas to jail for jaywalking, right? Like, we will fund the police. We will start wars. We will do whatever we need to do to keep this war machine and this capitalist machine ticking. And please don't think for a second that Joe Biden is interested in any sort of socialist agenda, because he isn't. Because he said that very explicitly. So again, what in the fuck have the Democrats done to earn your ongoing support going forward? I'm mainly talking about national Democrats, congressional Democrats, the president. I imagine that if you live in a democratically controlled city, chances are you have a black mayor. And, a lot of these black mayors are ass. They are ass. Mario Bowser in D.C., ass. Eric Adams, New York City, ass. I'm going to go ahead and throw Brandon Scott under the bus because Brandon Scott ain't showed me a whole lot of leadership out here. Ass. Who's the nigga in Houston, Pookie Wood? Sylvester Turner, ass. Keisha Lance Bottoms in Atlanta, ass. Ass. Thank you, Noli D, for your super chat, honey. We appreciate it. We have to forge a new way forward. And this is where I will defer to Dr. Jared Ball over there at I Mix What I Like on Black Power Media. Jared talks about the formation of the after party, which is, you know, a reimagining, I guess, of a third party alternative. Because most of the people in this country who are registered to vote are non-party affiliated. I'm sure all of you already know this. People have been distancing themselves, at least on paper, from both the Democratic and Republican parties because these parties don't speak to us. They don't even speak to conservatives, really. You know what I mean? And not that I'm ever trying to find any common ground as ever, bitch. I could give a fuck what they talking about because they still burning crosses on the weekends with the pawpaw. You know what I'm saying? Nick, I don't give a fuck what them niggas is talking about. Anyway, but it's important for us to start. We have to start looking out the front door. We got to start planning our exit strategy because I know a lot of us are probably not officially registered as Democrats. Maybe some of you are, depending on if you have open or closed primary states. I understand people who stay registered as Democrats just so they can participate in the primary. I'm way too obstinate and hard-headed for that. I said, you niggas, I'm out. So I get that, but this can't continue because the Democrats, if they stay in power, they are just going to continue to let our environment crumble. They are going to continue to fund and militarize the police and enhance the U.S. military, which is already extremely bloated. I mean, they are just going to be Reagan Republicans, right? Meanwhile, the 21st century Republicans want to be Trump/Nazi Republicans, which I guess on some level is scarier than a Reagan Republican, but Reagan Republicans are pretty fucking scary, right? So just again, when the time starts to come around in 2022, spring, summer, fall, and Democrats are coming around asking you for your vote, and are you going to come out and vote? You got to start posing these questions back to them. What are you going to do for us? Because every single election cannot be the most important election of our lifetime if you don't vote in this election. No, we mean it this time. This is the most important election of our lifetime. And if you don't vote, then what, nigga? Then what? Joe Biden's going to keep kids in cages. Joe Biden's going to keep building the wall at the border. Joe Biden's going to keep denying us nationalized health care. Joe Biden's going to keep denying us cancellation of student loan debt. What? Anyway, gang, I'm going to let you go. It's 20 after. Who just sent us some money? Oh, hello, Keani Richardson. Thank you so much for your super chat, love. Thank you, Mark S. Hold on, I know Mark S has got a comment up here. Mark S always got something to say. Here we go, Mark S. Mark S said, Byron Brown and Buffalo, gigantic ass. Yes, ass. Thank you, Mark S, for that reminder. Yes, Byron Brown, absolute ass up there in Buffalo. Ass. And not even ass and titties. I mean, just plain out ass. Just ass. Ass in the bad way. The anus, the bad part of the ass. Anyway, that's the show, guys. Join me tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time over on Black Power Media for the Remix Morning Show. I have been extremely excited to be reunited with the good folks over there on Black Power Media for the Remix Morning Show. It's been I've had a smashing time. So shout out to Dr. Jared Ball, shout out to Kalaji Changa, Kamal Franklin, Jacqueline Lukman, and of course the Ear Doctor. So please join us tomorrow morning over on BPM 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. for the Remix Morning Show. Gang, just a quick reminder, COVID is still out here jumping on people. I do not want it to jump on you. Please wear your mask, KN95s and N95s. I got you, bro. Wear your mask, wash your hands, do all the appropriate social distancing, do all of those things. Thank you so much, Franny France. It's the birthday girl's Aquarius season. Franny France say fuck the police, no doubt. Thank you so much for that, Franny French. On behalf of Tunde and Molly and me, I'd like to thank you all for checking out Burning Down with Kim Brown. We love you guys. We will see y'all later. Ta-ta. Bye-bye.